pads.
Little sticky pads, absolutely. Anything else? We talked about it earlier. It did 3 things. Triple action. I like triple action a lot. A big one that was talked about the other day was grasshoppers. You guys have issues with grasshoppers? What would you recommend for grasshoppers? By far my favorite, and we'll talk about this real quick. It used to be called Gard'n Pet and Livestock Spray. It's now Gard'n and Farm. We changed the name. We had to get the name pet off of there because we don't want people spraying their goldfish or their parakeet or their hamster with it, all right? This is for dogs. So nothing's changed in the bottle. Same active ingredient, same percentage. The back of the label, the only thing we changed everywhere where we said pet, we now say dog. All right, this is 10% permethrin. This is by far my go-to product for taking care of grasshoppers. Now, if I go and I spray a bunch of mature grasshoppers with this, what's going to happen? I'm not going to get rid of them all, especially the older mature ones. It's going to roll right off of them. The grasshopper has a waxy exoskeleton, so I'm out there spraying. I'm going to kill a few of them, but I'm going to come back to you and say, hey, the product worked all right, but I didn't get the great results you were saying. What's something that you could sell me that I could add to that product that's going to help coat that exoskeleton? Spreader sticker, you got it. All right, so there's my $2 right there. All right, spreader sticker and Gard'n and Farm. That is going to be my go-to for grasshoppers. Every year, the number 1 question that I get always kind of changes. The number 2 is always grasshoppers. All right, that is usually my number. One of my top issues that I'm getting a lot of calls about are grasshoppers. One more bug that's really tough to get rid of. You guys have issues with squash bugs? Yeah, what would you recommend for squash bugs? Anybody have a go-to product?
A pair of those gloves and a wooden block.
That's there you go. Just smack them, huh? Have you guys ever used multi-use dust, the deltamethrin dust? And what I really like about this product, the 1 pound is a puffer. The 4 pounds a bag, so you can refill that puffer. But you want to make sure and spray up underneath that foliage, and that puffer really helps with that. And guys, that's a lot to explain. And you're telling that customer all this information, and then they've got to go home and they've got to try to remember what were they telling me to do, and you want them to have great results. Some of you have already noticed. Behind that outline, I've got a info sheet on tomato care. Guys, that's everything we just talked about. It walks through all the steps. And yes, I want you to have that, and I want you to go home and study that, but you know who else I want to have that? Your customers. Print a couple of those out. Put them at an end cap. Have all these products we just talked about. They can walk up and they might not need all 20 things we talked about today, but they might go home with 2 or 3. And when they end up having the tomato hornworm, I know exactly how to take care of this. And guess where they're going to come back to buy those products. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can notice there's a little blank square. That's where I want you to get a stamp, and I want you to put your store information. Put your store name, put your address, put your telephone number so they come back to you. They remember where they picked up that info sheet. I have about 80 plus of these info sheets. There's one on rose care. There's one on aspen trees. There's one on field bindweed. There's one on blossom end rot. I took a few of them, and I blew them up on these poster boards. Guys, could you imagine how much calcium nitrate you're going to sell if you have this sitting next to your tomatoes? And that's how the gentleman that was in here earlier, he said, I had that happen to my tomatoes, and Robert started talking about it. You have that sitting there next to all your tomatoes, and you have a little mini pallet of calcium nitrate. You're going to have to restock that calcium nitrate every day. Everybody's got that issue. I did one on, you guys don't have this problem that much, but in Denver, we've got a lot of Japanese beetles, so I blew up one on Japanese beetles. There's intraveneral chlorosis. There's 80 of these, or 80 plus of these, and we're always changing them and updating them. You can find these on Gard'n Wise's Dropbox. All right, so you can go to their Dropbox and you can print these out. You have them in digital format. You can put them you can take an ad out in the newspaper. The squash bugs are really bad. Take my squash bug info sheet, put it up on your Facebook. Educate your customers on this. They're going to really appreciate that. Send me the bill for that. I think those cost me maybe $20. I'll pay for them with co-op dollars. Use those co-op dollars. Lots of different ways to get the information in front of the customers. So, like I said, use us. You guys have Robert. In the front of the catalog, you've got my cell phone number. You've got my email address. You've got a customer in your store that's got grubs in their vegetable garden and you're not sure what product is labeled for the vegetable garden that will get rid of grubs, give me a call. You've got 20 customers that came in this week and they've got issues with squash bugs and you can't remember what I recommended, shoot me an email, shoot me a text. Hey, what'd you recommend for squash bugs? I want to make sure I'm recommending the right product. Reach out to us, let us know. We don't know there's a problem unless you guys tell us there's a problem. All right? Yes?
What works good for budworms?
Budworms, I would do spinosad. I'd have to double check my list, but you know what? If we don't have one, and you let me know that it's a common problem. Last year, there was a big issue with the lanternfly. Nobody had heard about the lanternfly. We now have an info sheet on the lanternfly. So if we don't have one, we can certainly start working on it. Yeah.
What you get in budworm in? Geraniums? Petunias? Okay.
Yeah, spinosad works really well for that. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? All right.
Just want to emphasize one thing. What should, when you look up here, we talked about a lot of different things. What should be the number one seller right here? Number one. Some of you better know the answer to this. Spreader sticker. With every liquid that you sell.
Not just liquid, you can add spreader sticker to your blooming and rooting. What happens when you water a hanging basket? All that water goes around the edge of the pot, not the bottom of the hole, right? Anybody ever have some really old houseplants? When you water those houseplants, the water just sits on the surface for quite a bit. You add a little teaspoon of spreader sticker, goes right through the soil. You add spreader sticker to that blooming and rooting, it's going to travel through the soil instead of going around the edge of the pot and ending up on the ground and not doing you any good. Spreader sticker makes every product we sell work better, except for, anybody know what they don't want to add spreader sticker to?
Oil-based.
Oils and soaps. Yep. So everything else, it's going to make spreader sticker is going to make that product work better. All right.
This used to say spreader sticker and soil penetrant. They took the soil penetrant off of it, but he emphasized that about going into the soil.
Another one that you guys probably sell a lot of, and you probably don't realize it, root stimulator. That's got the soil penetrant built into it. Root stimulator is doing 3 things. I like to joke and say it does 4 things, but there's 3 ingredients in this bottle. You're going to have a light fertilizer charge. That's going to be number 1. You're going to have the endopateric acid, which is going to force new root growth. And guys, where do we want that root growth?
On the roots.
John, it didn't like that. Where do we want those roots to grow? Where do we want those roots to grow? Do we want them all right there at the surface? No, we want them deep down, absolutely. So we've got the soil penetrant. So when we're forcing that new root growth, we're getting that product deeper down into the soil. Also means every time we water, we're pulling that water deeper down into the soil. All right, 4th thing that this product does. Let's pretend like there's nothing in this bottle except for water. All right, there's not. There's the endopateric acid and the light fertilizer charge and the soil penetrant, but let's pretend like it's just water. And you sell this to the homeowner, and you tell them, I want you to go out and I want you to water that tree with this root stimulator once a week for the next 5 weeks. What did you just ensure? It's going to get water. They're going to go check on it. They're going to go look at it. They're not going to come back to you in 3 weeks and say, my tree's dead, and all your trees at your nursery are still fine. They at least went and checked on it. I promise you there is product in here, but it's doing 4 things. It's getting them to go and check on it. It's getting new root growth. It's forcing that root growth down, and it's giving them a light fertilizer charge. This is another thing that everybody should pick up. Yep. Bottle of root stimulator. Really good for your hanging baskets and potted plants as well.
Spreader sticker. What's the first word?
Spread.
What is a spreader? What's the chemical name for that spreader? It's a surfactant. What do surfactants do?
Water wetter.
Yes.
Makes water wetter.
It makes water wetter. Absolutely.
That's exactly right. And you're thinking, well, how do you make water wetter? You know, everybody has seen a drop of water where it beads up and it looks like just a little tiny mountain there. If you've got a surfactant in it, that bead of water goes and just flattens out and spreads out. So when you add this to your spray, instead of beads of water, as soon as it hits the leaf, it's going to spread out and spread out on the leaf. And do you know that almost all plant material leaves, when you look at them real close, they look like the back of a dog. They're fuzzy, particularly petunias. They're just fuzzy. But almost all leaves have little fuzz on them. This will penetrate the fuzz and get this to the skin tissue of the plant. Okay? What is sticker? It's just what it is. The way I tell people, and it makes sense to them, it's horticultural Elmer's glue. Once you sprayed it on, it's spread out on the leaf. When it dries, this glues this to the leaf. That's why this should be a companion cell to almost all your insecticides and fungicides.
Now, what do you say to that customer?
Fertilizers too?
And fertilizer. Liquid fertilizers.
Yeah, if you're going to, liquid fertilizer.
Yeah, getting it to penetrate through the soil.
It helps it. The spreader sticker also is a soil penetrant, and it'll carry that deeper into the soil.
Another one I really liked with the spreader sticker is the tree and shrub drench. You know, when you're reading those instructions, we're telling you we want you to pour it at the base of the tree. We want you to pour it nice and slow because we're trying to concentrate it at the base of that, at the base of the tree where it can actually be absorbed in by the roots. Not the feeder roots, but the roots at the base of the tree. You add the surfactant to it, you're going to keep it concentrated there. You're going to get it deep down into the soil. Yeah. What do you say to that customer that says they want to use dish soap for a surfactant? What are they doing when they add that dish soap to that insecticide and they're spraying their vegetables? Think about the commercial for Dawn dish soap. What are they showing? They got a big pot, right, and it's all full of grease, and they pour that dish soap in there, and it strips all that grease away. It's a degreaser. They're ripping away that waxy coating of that plant. That's a protective layer for insects and diseases. They're stripping that away.
By the way, detergents do not bubble up. They don't have a foam. The surfactant that they put in the detergent that makes the grease float up is not the detergent, it's the surfactant that is in Dawn. Detergents literally can neutralize some of the chemicals you're trying to spray. They literally can neutralize them because that's what detergents do.
Yeah.